Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jamie Masters, and today on the show we have Nik Trowbridge. Now, she is a serial entrepreneur in the beauty industry. She had so many different things that she did. I told her that the list was too big, and I was going to make her say it instead of me. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamie, for inviting me onto your show. I'm so privileged and this is so much fun for me. I love it.
We were already talking for way too long beforehand. I'm like, we need to
Yeah, I was
start
dragging it out.
so we can we can actually let other people listen to this also because I think it was great. So tell us a little bit more about your industry salon experience and then moving forward because I know you have a couple different businesses.
Sure. So I guess I am a serial entrepreneur, and I was just telling you before that I'm so pleased to have that title. That's like something I've strived for. So if you're calling me that, I'm thrilled. I've been in the beauty industry about 28 years. I started honestly before I started college, and I was just one of those partying stylists and all of that. And then so all of a sudden one day I kind of found myself into salon ownership. And then I started my salon. It was called Statements of Salon. That was about 18 years ago, and grew that business. And then I started an academy as well. So that's called Statements Academy. We're a cosmetology academy. We really focus on a boutique education, really intense advanced education so that we can close that gap so that as we graduate people, the stylist is really prepared to start making money right away. It's kind of my focus. And then I launched into multiple other ideas, but my biggest idea so far has been the Statements Project. And that is sort of a project of love for me. It comes from my heart. What I've seen as I've grown up in the beauty industry is this need for business education. I think a lot of salon owners are great at what they do, the art of it, but they struggle with the business education because they never were really trained in business world. And I was so fortunate. I had a lot of great mentors. And I also had my dad, who is a CPA as well as a corporate attorney. And so I was really very lucky that he kind of gave me that education. So I had an advantage. But anyway, so I started this Statements Project because it is an online course for business owners and entrepreneurs. So it's for people who want to start their own business, start their own salon, start whatever they want to start, because it's a lot of business information, not just pertaining to salon business, but obviously with a heavy focus on that. We're trying to create a course curriculum depending on what the topic is so that we can, and sort of my shtick is that I want to teach you how to maximize your profitability in every zone of your business. And I've localized it to 7 zones. And so I'm teaching that online as well as consulting. I've opened a salon consultancy as well. I travel and I teach seminars and a lot of classes. And so I do a lot of that too. So
Yeah, that's totally. I told her, I'm just going to call you serial entrepreneur. She's like, I've never been called that. I've always wanted to be. That's amazing. I dubbed thee, that's what I told her earlier, a serial entrepreneur. I mean, you have 3 hardcore businesses that are all being run at the same time. Yeah, that's totally a serial
yes.
entrepreneur. So tell me a little bit about how, especially how you transitioned, because one is a lot for people in general. And it sounds, I mean, 18 years is a lot of time, which is good. But how do you get yourself out of the other businesses so you have time to work on the new one?
Well, it's about creating systems. And I think any business owner who has branched out their business is always going to say the same thing. It's always comes back to that. And this is what I keep hearing, the same sort of lingo. If you create the systems inside your business that you can train other people, and then you create an incentivization process, that you create an investment level emotionally of that person that you find is sort of the key people that you can trust and that have certain skill sets that fill certain gaps. It's about being a little savvy too, about knowing who you can place in what position, and then you give them responsibilities and then you incentivize them properly, financially or otherwise. I mean, there's a lot of ways to incentivize as well. If you get really creative with that, you'd be shocked how well people will respond to you and help you grow your business. But when you get them emotionally involved and invested, and then give them some payback to it, and then train them properly, have those systems for training, and then you can say, this is how I want this to be done. This is what my expectation is. And then they can perform that for you. You can sort of step back and fulfill some other dreams. And I think that that's what makes it so exciting.
Okay, so I totally want to go deep into the systems things, but before we do
Okay.
that, because I've worked with salons and there's this stigma of, and I'm sure it's something that you get quite a bit, but stylists or something will take it or leave it, right? So they'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, and then I'll hop around, and they don't really have that all in attitude, especially to one specific salon or even in cosmetology school. I'm sure it's sort of a crazy thing. How do you find those people or enact that in somebody so that way they're all in?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think it's a matter of finding them. I think they're already there. You just
Mhm.
have to make that happen. And I'm a really big believer in that. I think people give up on people too easily. I think that people can be a little bit egotistical and a little bit emotional and reactive. And I think that in doing that, you're not allowing that person to grow. I would love to change and turn everyone's mindset into nurturing your people, anyone and everyone. Now, there's going to be things that happen with certain people that it's just not going to work. And then you have to cut ties. But I think that that's few and far between. I think that when you have a big staff, it's because you learned that you can nurture everybody. And I think that you have to focus on that a little bit. Take that and grow with that. I think people cut ties too quickly, react too quickly. I think you got to find what they're good at and then pull that out from them. But it's again asking them what they need. I think that so many people or salon business owners are focused on what they need. I need you to be here at this time. I need you to work 50 hours a week. I need this. I need that. Change that around a little bit and say, what do you need from me? And then those people will shine no matter what. And then once they shine, it's so easy to find. I can't tell you every day. Right now, I can probably tell you I have 10 people to probably pull out, and I can find spots for them right now because we do regular goal settings. I think the key is implementing a goal setting system inside your business
Okay.
where you're really, really documenting and tracking exactly what they need. And I mean, get real with it. Like, I need more time off. I need to come in later because I'm not a morning person. I need, because I want to have a baby, I want to change my schedule. I need to get married, so I want to take more time to spend on planning my wedding. Whatever it is that their personal need is, help them with that. I mean, that's your job. Your job as the visionary of the macro manager of that business is to drive the vision of the business, which therefore you provide the opportunities for your people.
So you can always get it to, or almost always get it to align. Because that's the other thing. People are like, oh, well, they want this, but I either can't find that role in my business, or we can't have them not come in until 10, or
Right.
whatever those things are. How do we actually get them to align?
That's a great question because at times you can't get it to align and you have to be okay with that. But there are many times that you can get it to align. And I think it's about communication. I think if you create proper communication, I think sometimes when I go into salons to consult with them, the thing that I feel is some of the biggest hindrance to their growth is the lack of communication that's happening between everyone inside the business. And so when I say, what do your people want? Like, what do they want most? What motivates them? Because it's not always money. I have to be honest. Sometimes it's just something as small as a rewarding comment, or maybe helping them start their helping them buy a car. And I don't mean pay for it, but helping them go through the process to learn about it.
Mhm.
A lot of young stylists go in there. There's so many ways you can help people and mentor people that you can find ways to align as if you get creative enough. There will be times where you won't be able to pay that person that figure because it doesn't fit into your budget. But there are other ways if you can get creative. So, for example, if somebody says, I need to make more money, I want more commission, this is a prime example of this. You can't align that. That's just not going to work because it's not what you need to set as a budgetary guideline for your business. But at the same time, you can take what that person needs to make more money and then show them different other methods to make more money. And if you educate yourself with people who have already gone through the process, they'll be able to teach you how to do that. And so finding mentors for yourself to help teach you that, I think that's a really good method too.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into the system side, especially because you said goal setting was a big piece. But what I get people asking me systems all the time, and like, what do we start with first? Because especially when you're the main person and you're trying to do everything all at once, it's all a problem. So how do we prioritize what the main systems are, and how do we do that?
Well, I think the first thing you need to look at is the scheduling, because I think the scheduling is what makes it very effective. And I believe this: what you focus on gets done first,
Mm-hmm.
and what you focus on is what gets put on the schedule. And it's literally that simple. And I know it sounds so silly to say, but it is so true. When I maximized my scheduling, meaning my personal, I started with myself. So I said, what are the hours that I need to balance my life? I'm a mom of two boys. I want to spend time with them. So what are my no-goes, for that, prioritizing that and putting that on the schedule and saying, no one's going to interfere with that time. And then saying, from this time, I'm going to teach. And then this day, I'm going to do consulting. And then this time I'm going to do emails. And then this time I'm going to work behind the chair with my clients. So having that schedule set. So when you exemplify that in your business, then you can train your staff to do that as well. So if you can pull your staff member out and say, listen, let's get your schedule really tight that works for you. Start there. I say start with a schedule, tell them what their priorities are, help them put their priorities on that schedule list. And then from there say, now I have your attention for this hour. I want you to do this. Here are your duty lists, here are your tasks, get this done, and then here's a checklist for it and then document the final result. And so I think if you get into that kind of system, that's the first system I would say. First system is scheduling, tracking, documenting.
It's
Get that
exactly
in
what
order
I say
first.
too. I love this. We call it the master schedule. Exact same thing. So I'm so excited that you say this. It's just great validation. All right. What's the
Exactly.
second? What would be the second thing that most people could do if they
So
feel like
if
they have that?
so if we speak from a perspective of salons,
Hmm.
then if so I'm going to specifically speak about a salon, which is, let's qualify this a little differently. Instead of just saying it's a salon, let's say it's a service-based
Yes.
business
Good.
versus a product-based business, product-based business. So it's a little bit different. So when you do a service-based business, typically you will have some subcontracting and there's a little bit of like, you have to be there. You can't just work behind a computer, etc. You have to be there with the guest, right? And so I would say look at the front desk, which is the reception area. You need to tighten down that system. So if you go into your front desk, look at all preset dialogue, preset formats, how you book, how you schedule, how you maximize the potential and the productivity there is where it's going to happen. Because the service provider, when they're lost in the mix of the actual experience of the guest, they don't have time to be worrying about all of that. So they can't deliver it. See, they're obsessed about, is the salon clean and is this happening or is this going on or whatever they're worried about. I think you need to focus and turn that attention to the front desk reception area. To me, it's not just a reception area. To me, the front desk in any business is the sales center of that business. It's the heart of it. And if you can create the sales possibilities there, you maximize productivity and profitability in your business. So tighten that down, work on that system second. What are your methodologies of handling mistakes, wrong booking? How do you handle late customers? How do you handle when a staff is late? There's a million things, millions.
Yeah.
Our front desk training procedure is actually 37 videos. So just that course alone, and that's just for the salon business. So if you can imagine, and we're constantly updating that. There's always new things to add. I mean, pretty soon I'm going to have like 80 videos on front desk training alone. So that system is, in my opinion, one of the tightest systems to have outside of your scheduling of your own life.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What is the system used for systems? Because I know you've got the course side, but what should small business owners do to keep this stuff? Because what I see is people will create SOPs and then never look at them again or never actually make decisions in
Because they're
real
not
time.
tracking or documenting.
Exactly.
They
So how
don't
do we
they
do
don't
it?
follow through with any tracking and documenting.
Hmm.
So that's hard. And this is why in your business you can't get drowned, you can't be chained to the chair. And that's hard because you're the top producer most of the time in the salon. If you're the business owner, or in any business, typically you tend to be the money maker, And so that's why maximizing that schedule is so important. So the first one, we go right back to the first one again. If you can create a pocket of time, 5 hours a week, 1 hour a day, even 30 minutes, where you literally do nothing but track and document. And then here's the goal, and here's where the magic happens. If you train your front desk properly, your leadership of your business comes from there. In my opinion, it's not the service provider. So many people, salon owners and business owners alike, they choose from their top producers to make them the managers.
Mm.
But I believe that that's really a mistake, because I think not that those aren't great leadership roles, but they are not the trackers and the documenters and those people. They're not those people. They don't have time for that. You've got to pull the people on the front desk that are the ones that can see the whole entire big picture, that's seeing what's happening. And then they can track and document. The front desk should be tracking it and documenting it. Somebody comes in late, the front desk needs to track it. If somebody has an issue with the client being unhappy, the front desk needs to track it. And then they need to relay that information back to you. And then you can make sure customer service is ideal. And I think that you train your leadership, like as in your business manager, as in your accountant, as in your bookkeeper, all from that front desk position. So,
Okay. So what software where do we track it? Is it like Google Docs? Like
there's
where do we track all
there's
this
so
stuff?
many different ways. And so I would say in our salon, we use a program called Salon Biz, and
Okay.
we have everything on there. It's not the only thing we have. We have spreadsheets that we create as well. And so on our website, the Statements Project, we have all of these forms that we've created over the last 18 years to document and track these things. So we have something called the incident tracker, which is like, let's say, you dump out color and you waste color. That's an incident, right? It's not a big deal, but it's something you need to know so that when you sit down to do the goal settings, we're able to say, hey, you dumped color 5 times in a week. This is a little challenge. Let's remix. Let's teach you to remix your color, and let's go back to the basics on that. And so that you can go back and you can address the issue instead of never knowing about it. And then when it gets to the point where it's too much, you blow up and you explode and you get reactive. And so handling on a very business level, like I've documented 5 times. And so we need to address why this is happening. Do you not know how to mix, or like what's the challenge here? And so then you can kind of address it that way. And so then we use spreadsheets. So we create spreadsheets. They're very simple. You can create it yourself on your computer, go to Google Docs, and then we like to share. So every single one, every single person that's responsible for that, every manager, any leadership, any front desk people that are tracking it, anyone gets included on those emails or on that connection, or like those Google Docs. And so then every single time somebody plugs something in, you're able to go back and track it very easily. It's all about creating the communication system inside the business. That's a very hard task, but once you get it there, you can't live without it.
See, so that's the thing that's so difficult, is that small business owners are all running around like chickens with their head cut off, and
Right.
this will solve their problem, but they also don't have the time and space to do it. Or even if they implement it, getting their receptionist to really pay attention every single time there's an incident. I mean, that's difficult, especially with everything else going on. How do you do that?
Exactly. You just have to realize, and this is where it gets ugly, is that you are a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and this is required of you. And so you have to simply say at the end of every night, if I get done at 8, I'm going to close my book at 7:30 or at 7, and I'm going to spend the last hour or two taking care of these issues. It's the matter, your life is, I mean, your salon life is at stake. I mean, you really have to make sure you take care of that. And so I hear a lot of people say, well, I can't do that. I don't have time. Or I feel like this isn't the right thing for me because I don't know how to do that. And this is why I think hiring a consultant in, when you are lost, when you literally just don't know where to start, having a professional come in to help you is really ideal. But I have to tell you, 75% of the time, I would say when I go into salons, a lot of these salons already have some of these things in place. They just don't use them. And so it's a matter of training them. And so when they hire on a front desk, they don't have even any training. They just say, okay, answer phones. They just throw them on the desk and they just say, answer phones. How about sitting down and saying, watch these videos, or read this SOP, or read this basic 4-page write-up about how we handle certain tracking, and I want you to implement it in that way. And so you are initializing that. And you can't just keep saying, I don't have time, or I can't do this. You have to make time. You have to find time. You have to figure out the time to do that. And it is very hard. If that requires 60 hours of you one week, it may. And you just have to be okay with it. And so if anyone is listening and saying, do I want to be a business owner? My first question is always, why do you want to be a business owner? Do you really know the reason? Do you want to just work on your own schedule? Do you not want to have a boss? I mean, what's the real reason? If the real reason is that you want to grow business and you love business concepts and you want to grow people, then you're the right mentality, in my opinion. I think if you just want to do something where you just start a business and you don't have to go to work and then you can kind of call your own shots, maybe that can work for you, but I haven't seen that too often, to be honest with you.
Solopreneur, right? Like,
Yeah,
don't have people
yeah.
working for
You
you
have
because
to really
it's
be willing to put in
crazy.
the effort in the beginning. And I
Yes.
would encourage you, at the level, the sooner you start it, the better. When you get up to that 10-year, 20 employee number, it's so hard. It's so hard. If you can start it right from the get-go, have the spreadsheets made, have the tracking systems made, have the training set up, do all of that ahead of time.
It's so
And
funny.
there's professionals to help with that.
Thank goodness, right? Thank goodness
Yeah.
we have the internet nowadays, because I can only
Yeah.
imagine starting it way back when, and you're like, I got nothing, can't even look it up. Don't I
Right.
can look at books, and those are so slow, right? Not that we
Right.
don't have things like the E-Myth, which is a great book that sort of goes through the systematization. But the problem is like way back when that book came out, the software, information that we have nowadays is just so much more advanced than it was before. So a lot of
Right.
people that come to me are like, "Oh, what's the newest software? What's the newest this? What's the new?" They want the shiny object that's going to help them walk them through creating all these SOPs. And I don't think there is anything like that right now, right? It's
No,
just
I'll
us.
tell you what really has been effective for our business for
Hmm.
communication is texting. We have
Hmm.
everyone on a text thread. We have two text threads. We have a leadership text thread, and we have, and because every business, I have like 7 text threads. So it
Wow.
depends
Okay.
on on who needs to be included on that group. And so you're not repeating yourself multiple times, and then you hold someone accountable to that task. So you say, okay, guys, who's going to get this task done? And then they get it done, and then you check back on it and track it. And so text threads have been amazing. It's the most simplest thing. Everyone has it. Everyone has a smartphone. I mean, most everyone
Seriously.
has a smartphone these days. You don't have to buy any fancy software or anything. Get on a text thread, communicate. I do most of my work, or my best work, at night when it's about midnight, from about 10, after I put my kids to bed, and I sit down, and then I really go through and I write down everything on these text threads, and I make lists and to do things and all this stuff that we have to get done. And I put it to the right task, and put the right people. In our salon, we have 7 leaders salon leaders, management. And then we have, about 50 employees in our business. And so we have one with all 50. So let's say there's a class so that we can communicate that way. And I keep hearing something about that, when I suggest this, everyone's like, people don't like to be on text threads. They hate group texts. It's like everyone wants to stab my eye out if I send a group text. But listen, it's about business. No one abuses this. We're not sitting there talking about, did you watch Game of Thrones? We're talking about you need to show up to this class at this time, and this is information, because if not, then you come back to me and I'm accountable for not letting you know. This is how I let you know. We use it very rarely, the group text for everyone, but the leadership text, they know when they go on it, your leadership, you can get a text at any time. You can get a text at 2 a.m. Doesn't mean you have to check it and respond, but it means you might get it, because when someone thinks of something, the inspirational moment happens, and then the next day it's gone. So in that moment, you have to send that out. And that's really what I try to focus on, is I say, communicate. When you're inspired, tell us. And so we can get that done. It's one of the most basic systems.
That's so smart. I woke up at 2 a.m. and wrote an email to my assistant because I'm like, I'm going to forget this in the morning. So now I have to send it to you right this second.
Everyone does that.
She's like, you're at plate. I was like, yes, let the dog out. Yes, totally understand. But that's what happens, right? In business, there is no off switch.
Never.
Which is good and bad, right? How do you?
You have to force it.
Yeah.
You have to make it happen. You have to say, I'm shutting it off right now.
How do you do that,
because
though?
this is the reason.
For real, so I have kids too, and you can't shut off your brain because we have entrepreneur brain. So I pick up the kids, I'm going to pick them up right after, and I'm going to be in mom mode. It's going to be awesome. And then I'm going to go, oh shoot, I need to, right?
Exactly.
So how do you turn it off?
I schedule time to do work outside of being behind the chair. And I feel like at that time, then I feel like I can get it all off my chest. And I'm not worried about chasing after myself. I feel like entrepreneurs, we tend to chase after ourselves a bit. We're with the kids at, Chuck E. Cheese, and they were like, oh gosh, we have to send this out. I try to find pockets of time. It's all about the scheduling again, the master schedule, to go back and really place that into effect, and make sure I say, between this time and this time, I'm very available, and you can do this, but from this time to this time, I'm putting my kids to bed, I'm feeding them dinner, and I'm just out of commission. And so, I do that. On vacations, on trips, this is a very hard thing. I don't shut my phone off on vacation at all. But there are pockets of time during the vacation where I'll say, I'm just down and out. So you're not going to get a response from me. But finding the right people to put into place that will be empowered and accountable to fixing the change as well. And so I know for some saloners, it's me, everything falls on me. Well, designate someone when you leave. Say, I'm going to put you responsible, and then incentivize them with that. And say, if you take care of this, and I'm giving you the power to do this, if something happens, I want you to handle it in this way, and give them some foresight about how to handle it. And then they can kind of take it off. But I know you and I probably do the same thing. It's very difficult to shut off that brain. You just have to force yourself to do it. I mean, I'm not successful at it 100% of the time either, to be honest.
And that's okay, though. I think that's a funny thing.
Try.
Exactly.
We try.
It's about trying and trying. So that's the thing, though, with vacations. I work with a lot of business owners, and a lot of them are like, I can't take a vacation. And it's part systems for sure. It's part having the right people that can be responsible for it. But I think it's actually easier than people think. They just don't want to let go. And so how do we work with that? Because sometimes it's our own gosh darn brain that's doing it.
Well, I mean, I think that I do the same exact thing. So I have to tell you, it's hard to pull away. It's irresistible to call, because you're so drawn to it. It's what lights my fire, and I love that. And so I don't want to lose that, because it's very much passionate. And I feel like it's a love affair with my business. And so or all my businesses, and I feel really good about that. But it is realizing that you can pull away, and it's just surviving. It's going to survive without you. You're going to be okay. How do you do that? I don't know if I figured that out yet, Jamie. I have to be honest. I still try to figure that out all the time. It's about delegating, I think, learning that delegation skill to say, and I'm really good at delegating. I have to be honest. I've gotten really good. I wasn't good, but I have gotten really good to delegate and say, can you please just handle this, and then write it down. And so I can just plug off and turn off, and they are just, or unplug. And I feel like everyone's so helpful with me about that. Have you discovered the secret to that?
Oh, of letting go in general?
Yeah.
I'm actually way the heck better than I used to. I actually have it on my little thing where I'm like, what am I going to let go of today? Because literally, I don't. I'm like this. I mean, I think most entrepreneurs in general, we're a little bit control freaks. So we're sort of
Yeah.
like, and I will hold it because I can do this really well. Not that I'm not good at delegating either. Actually, I just want to ask you a couple
So
questions on the
I'd like
delegate.
to add something,
Oh
Jamie,
yeah,
really
go ahead.
quickly to that, that I think that has been a really big breakthrough for me
Hmm.
recently. I've learned, and I read constantly, we all do, but I read something recently, and it was basically stating that the ego is something that we create, this personality that's our shell,
Hmm.
and we create this ego that we believe that we are, and we want that to manifest itself in public, and we want everyone to see ourselves that way. I think that once you come to the realization that that's what that is, and then get to your real authentic self and be who you really are inside, I think that's a very interesting leap. And I feel like I've achieved that, even though I might not be successful 100% of the time. I've realized a lot of that is tied to my ego, and it's not really real. And to let that go and to realize I just want to be my authentic self, and I trust these people that I've put into place, and just come to the realization. I think that that's a really good place.
I love that. It's funny. I had a friend visit for the last 5 days, and I didn't have a chance to meditate like I normally do, and I can tell my hold on everything was just so different in those days. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I'm like, oh, I usually do like 45 minutes to an hour of meditation every single day. And for some
Wow.
reason, I feel like that clears your brain and lets go of everything because it doesn't matter when you're meditating, right? And I can
Right.
carry it at least most of the day. And then
Find
it adds
something
up
that you
otherwise.
enjoy, right? Like
Mhm.
meditating, like you. It's amazing that you do that.
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, no, it's worth it. Well, now it's a not addiction, but it's I notice the results, and I think this is sort of anything in business, right? You see something that has results and you're like, "Oh, ho, ho, okay, I just want the results. I don't really want to spend an hour doing it, but I definitely want the results," right?
It's great. That's a really good thing. I wish I was better at it too, but I've tried myself as well, and it's been very successful too. I get it.
So, I want to go back and talk about delegation because I really feel like you said at the beginning, you weren't very good at it. And it is a skill set that needs to you need to actually experience it in order to get better and better and better at it, just because each person's a little bit different. So, do you have like one or two tips that you learned as going through to try and figure out a delegation?
Sure. I think that delegation is it is a skill, and I think that's what you said. I think it's a matter of trusting somebody and getting to know them and communicating properly. I think that the you have to realize, so my tip, my first tip, my biggest tip is that I in the beginning I wasn't good at it because when I would ask a question,
Mm.
it's just it wasn't a good enough question. It wasn't a good enough task. Like I didn't communicate properly. So the fault really lied with me. And when I changed how I communicated what I needed, and I get blamed a little bit sometimes that I over communicate, but I feel like it's actually very effective for me because I actually go through the entire process and I actually talk it through from start to finish. And I actually say at the end, my goal is this. And I hope that this is going to be what we achieve with this. Do you feel the same way? And so I always like to ask the question and pose the question, how do you feel about that? What do you think about what my goal is? How do you think we could do that better? And then it involves them on a different level of investment.
Mhm.
And I feel like that really changed my delegation style versus sort of the dictator barking, I'm going to do this now, get this done. Did you do that? Instead of that, that's not what I mean by delegation. What I mean is to think about the task ahead of time, to have foresight, and then to delegate it to the correct person. So don't ask someone that isn't able to do it either. You need to pick and choose the people you delegate to as well. Don't set someone up for failure.
Mhm.
And also don't pick the person that hasn't been trained to do it. So, if you want somebody to complete a task, don't just pick somebody, oh, you come here, and do this. It's not the most effective way to delegate. I think that it's like Google. When you get onto Google and you ask a question, you guys know, I mean, we have to ask the correct question for it to give us the correct response. We could search all day long for a topic and it can give us a million different responses. It's the same thing, I think, with people. You have to ask the correct question, you have to say the correct thing, and I think you have to ask them what their interest lies in it and then see how they can achieve it better and let go of the ego and just say, you know what? You do it. You did a great job with that. I think I love your idea, and praise them a little bit and allow them to complete the task to what they need. But at the same time, communicate your expectation of it. And so instead of just barking the order, actually communicate the expectation. I think that's a really, really big deal, and choose the right person to do the task.
These things are huge. So make sure everybody can take one piece of that and actually implement it too, because I think this is a huge thing. I had to learn. I am a fast mover, so I tell people, oh, and I want it, and it's sort of like this, and then I run away, like, right, I run away, and they're
Right.
like, wait, right?
Right.
So I had to get good about, because I am not a detail oriented person, sitting there trying to over communicate. Like my goal was to over communicate because my communication was so limited beforehand. And I kept going, how come they didn't? I'll just do it myself. It's way easier to do it myself, right?
Right.
And we get in this loop. And even though we think it's them, it's most of the time us. No offense to everybody
Yes.
listening, but geez, yeah,
I
I
think
love
that
you saying
once you
that.
realize that people have bigger skill sets than you, your business will grow leaps and bounds.
Mm.
I think you have this, me personally, not you, but me. I have a certain skill set that I can achieve certain things and be really, really damn good at. But then I can't do certain things really well, and other people can. And to find those people and to praise them for it and to say, what do you think? How do you think I can help you do this? And how do you think that, you think this can be done better than what I even imagine? Sometimes it's even better than what I can imagine.
Yes. Okay. It's funny too, because at the very beginning, before we hopped on, I'm like, so I put my hair in a ponytail because your hair looks amazing, and I don't do fashion, and right. Even in our personal lives, there are things we do really really well, and things we don't do, and probably need help, or
Right.
not even like not even necessarily need to up everything so everything's a strength. It's not about that. It's about sort of realizing what is your strength and leveling up on that instead of. How did you figure
And
out what
do
your
it well.
strengths were?
What was that?
How did you figure out what your strengths were though?
I think I kind of knew it all along. I feel like I've always known what my strengths are. I feel like I have always communicated well. I feel like I've always been able to handle confrontation well. I feel like I'm really good at that. Like I feel like I don't shy away from that. I feel like I listen amazingly well. That's a really, really good strength of mine. And this is what I think this is part of why my business has grown because I'm a great listener and I really listen to what everyone needs. And I am also a doer. And so I'm very task oriented and the listing, I make list of things all the time. And so I feel like that has really changed or helped my business grow. And so I think that those are some of the keys that I would suggest on that and realizing your strength. Just know what you're really good at and what you do. How did I learn what my strengths are? Uh, be really accountable to what you're not good at and ask the opinions of others, and be open to listening to them. Really want to hear it. I think self-reflection is a really big key. So a lot of people don't self-reflect. They beat themselves down. Don't do that. Know the difference, right? The real authentic way is to reflect and to say, oh, that was not a good day. Sometimes I'm driving home in the car and just thinking, I could do better at that. That was not good. And so really calculating that the next time, going back and even apologizing or even saying, how could I have done that better? And learning what your weaknesses are. I think it becomes glaringly clear what your strengths are when you realize what your weaknesses are, and fill that in, and being reflective about it and really accountable to it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to swallow the hard pill when you're like, okay, nope, not very good at that. But that's, again, like you said, one of the most important things that you can learn as an entrepreneur
It is.
in
A lot
general.
of people don't hold you accountable when you're an entrepreneur. There's no one
No.
holding you accountable. And so some people get way out of control with that. And I would encourage you to not let that happen because I think that that can be a real detriment to a business.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember one of my business coaches way back when I did a webinar and she goes, that's not good enough. And I was like, like nobody says that to me anymore,
Right.
right? Like, oh, what? And it wasn't good enough. And like, she knew I could do better, but we didn't have that. Like when you're a parent, you can tell your kids like, oh, I know you can do better than that. But as an entrepreneur, we're the only ones and our
Right.
customers could tell us. But other than that, if the customers are happy, what the heck else? We don't have anybody else really
Right.
telling us the pieces we can improve on.
Right. Analyze if you have the proper line of communication between your team. Is your
Mm.
team really willing to tell you the truth? And if they're not, consider why, you know?
Oh, I go into businesses. Sometimes the employees talk to me, and I'm like, "Oh, the business owner has no idea," and they'll
Right.
they'll be honest with me. But it's so amazing how the business owner's like, "I think everything's okay," and then I talk to the
Right.
employees, and I'm like, "Everything's not okay. Let's just be
Right.
clear with this."
Isn't that a shame?
It
Isn't that a
sucks.
shame?
Yeah,
Don't,
it
I mean, I would
definitely
try really
sucks.
hard to not let that happen. I hope my staff tells me first. And I always tell them I'm open to hearing anything, even if it's the worst. You got to tell me because I hope you don't tell other people, something that I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing. They bring me in because they're like, oh, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's okay. I think
Right.
they know in the back of their head too. And that's the thing, right?
Right.
It's just easier to have someone else take the hard pill instead.
Absolutely.
Because I
Absolutely.
sugarcoat it a little before I give it to them for sure. Uh, so let me ask you this, because I was telling you earlier, I have a client and you know their space so, so well. So I want to get your opinion. So what he does is he has product, which you're better at this, right? You know this for sure. He goes in, he tries to get new salons to carry his product or come to his class to learn how to do it, right? What's the best way to do that? Because right now he's pounding the pavement. It's working well in general, but either they turn off and they're like, we don't need any more product, whatever,
Yes.
or they won't come to the class. He's tried social, he's tried some online stuff. Give us some tips for that.
So I think that trying to get the team to come to a class is probably the last thing he should try.
Okay.
They won't come to the class unless they really want to come to the class. It's just
Well,
that
that's what I was
simple.
saying. I was like, why would anyone want to come? Or what is the most amazing reason for people to come? Because if it ain't great, nobody's going to be able to go, right?
So I think that the best thing to do is trial. That's the
Okay.
best thing. I think I would immediately give it to the people that are going to sell it. And I would give them the full service on it,
Okay.
meaning not a sample size. I would give them a full package. I think that has been the most effective thing in my business for new product lines is for the company to be willing to give all my entire team the package to use and to say, take it home, use it. And then I think another tip for that is about a week or two afterwards,
Hmm.
after they take it home and use it, incentivize them somehow for using it. So to say, if you use it and you give me some feedback, I'm going to give you something, whatever that is, and it could
Ooh.
be a prize. The first 5 comments that I get on it could be, you get a $50 gift certificate to Starbucks, or it could be a new whatever. I mean, think about what he's willing to give, but,
Mm.
or ask the salon owner, what do they want most? And make it steep, because if he's really trying to get it in, he has to incentivize them somehow. And then the third thing that I would say that he should do is he should go back into the salon and ask the salon owner if he can be in the salon that day and actually himself or his team actually perform the services, the shampoo services on the team, the shampoo team, the tech team,
Mm-hmm.
not the stylist team, the tech team, and then have the tech team and him do the treatments and use the products on the guests that day. Completely
Wow.
complimentary. Get the buzz going and then set up the stations. If they're styling products, set up the stations with it and just call it a day and say, for the full day, we're going to bring in our product line and we are going to present this to you in this magic way. And we're going to say, we're going to set up all your stations. We're going to set up your retail shelves with it. We're going to set up all your styles a week or two beforehand. And we're going to incentivize them for the first 5 comments the first 5 stylists that tell me their feedback on it. And then, at the end of the day, and use it all on the clients. Create that complete branding
Mm.
effect in the salon and have his team bring the stuff in, set it up the night before, and pull it back out the next day. And also, I would consider leaving it in there for maybe a day or two, and then just asking them to tabulate whichever product they sell. Because if you leave it in there, they're going to use it. If it's on their station, they're going to use it. Stylists are too busy to think about, oh my God, where's the next product? They're just going to grab whatever's there. And if they've been using it at home, they're going to grab it and they're going to be able to talk about it. In my opinion, I think that's the best way. He should call that some kind of cool name, like maybe, a day of fun with whatever product line, or, whatever, come up with something creative. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but, he can come up with something creative that's pertaining to his business, to his product name. And I would go with that route. I think that's probably the best route as a salon owner, as a stylist. I would tell you that's one of the best ways to get people to try his product,
Makes
especially
it
if it's
sound
really new.
fun. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes it actually sound fun. How do you get the salon owner to say yes? Because it seems like that's kind of a distraction for your salon owners and your stylists in general.
You don't want the salon owner to have to be involved in that at all. You
Okay.
actually want to supersede the salon owner, because the salon owner doesn't want another task, and you
Exactly.
don't want a salon owner to stop it. You want to say, we will provide all this to you at no cost. And all you have to do is just take this home and use it. And that's all you have to do. How do you get the salon? You mean say yes to that kind of event?
Yeah.
If you tell them it's all free, they're going to agree. I mean, to be honest with you, the salon owner most of the time is just looking at, what's this going to cost me and what do I have to do? How much work do I have to put into this?
Yeah.
And if you require the salon owner to do a lot of work physically that takes more time away, they're not going to want that. They want something that makes their life easier. And so even offer them half the retail sales of the business, of the product, the second day. Say, I'm going to bring the whole line. I'm going to leave it here. And then whatever you sell, you get to keep half. I mean, they're an incentive. It's already incentivized for them.
Yeah, and so it's
And
a
so
fun
what
day
would
with their
they
employees too. So that way it makes it feel like it's something. They could win something. Okay,
exactly?
so it's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly. Most distributors or product manufacturers, what they do is they just try to send in to the owner only. Well, I have to be honest with you, the owner rarely uses it because the owner doesn't have time
Yep.
and the owner's not even thinking about it. It's the stylists that are looking for the product line. It's not the owner necessarily. Some owners are. That's, I mean, to be fair, some owners are. But most of the time it's the owners that are running, and the owners are the ones stuck on the one product that they've used for 25 years that they love. And that's the one that they have in the slide of the salon. It's the stylists that want this new sort of thing. They offer a lot of points as well in education. Salons want something that will be able to incentivize their staff. So, like for example, Kerastase is a great line that we have in our salon. They incentivize because they allow people to grow points to win trips to like Milan and
Uh,
to Paris and things
of
like this,
course. Who the heck
or to
wouldn't want
Fashion
that?
Week. I
Yeah.
mean, what stylist doesn't want this? Because it lets them be a part of that editorial world, and they love that. I don't know where he's at or what level he's at with
Mhm.
that, but those are the one way to do it. The second way that I think is really, really key is for him to find educators that are small level, not the big, 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 massive levels, small levels, and say, I will provide you with the whole line to use
Huh.
during your classes and during your all you have to do is just use this and I'm going to provide it for you. Those educators love that kind of sponsorship. So I would tell you as an educator myself, I love that kind of sponsorship. I'm teaching on a hairstylist cruise in November, and they emailed me and they said, hey, do you know of any corporate sponsors that would fill our swag bags? You know, that I think there's something like 700 stylists going or something like that, or I think 800 now. But right there, you have a captive audience. I mean, he could literally be the corporate sponsor for that entire cruise. There's always things like that happening.
So that's what I was going
And
to ask you too, because if he can't be local, because that's the thing too, leverage is important, right? And if
right,
even if he has a team, it's like, okay, well, we can only do the salons here, and then we either have to expand and have another team, or have our team go there, or whatever. So I'm thinking, like,
right.
how can we do online or bigger plays of one to many? So the cruise is one awesome
I would
option.
capture things like those things.
Okay.
We're doing an event September 18th and 19th. It's a 2-day event for about 200 salon owners, and we're giving 2 days of business education and then education that's like hands-on sort of stuff. The second day, you know, these kind of events. Educators are like ourselves, like myself, are always looking to fill corporate sponsors. He needs to get in touch with them, and then it's not like trying to get in multiple salons with all these little fingers. It's one localized event where he
Hmm.
just ships it to that event and set up at that event. So even though it might not be local, it's still very manageable. And I think that that's a really, really important thing to do. He needs to start connecting with those kind of people and creating those relationships. And it's about knowing people and building a network.
I love this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
He's gonna be ecstatic too, by the way. Because that's
Good.
the thing, each industry is always a little bit different, right? So I work with a ridiculous number of industries, game
Right.
board organizers, crazy stuff, right?
Right.
Plumbing companies, but each one has little nuances that you really like. You've been in it for so long, you're like, okay, I know. People would just do this. So that's the thing I
Right.
really highlight and want people to contact the people that are in those spaces that know better, even if they're not necessarily educators like you or coaches like you, but be able to ask somebody that is a salon owner, what would you want in this way?
Right.
That way they can
And
tell you.
ask and customize the plan.
Exactly.
and
Ask.
and do the work for them. See, that's
Hmm.
the thing. Owners are overwhelmed with the amount of work. And so if he's ready to do some good service, like provide the service, they say they give service, but they really don't. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been through so many product lines. They say, "Oh, we're going to support you this way. We're going to support you this way." At the end of the day, you still have work. You know what I mean? And an owner just doesn't want to do that,
Yeah, for sure. Too bad
especially
he
no.
couldn't implement all the systems we talked about for them before. Then they'd just love him and do whatever the heck he wanted. No.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's amazing. I know we have to start wrapping up. So, what's one action, right? And especially thinking of all of service owners in general, because a lot of people listening definitely have service businesses. What's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
Well, I can tell you, I can probably give you 10 things right now. So it's hard for me to pick and choose which one I would tell you because I think they all are intrinsically tied together. And but probably the first step, and it depends again on where you are. I think this is such a customized answer per the per the person and what you're
Hmm.
at, what I would say. But I think the master schedule is going to be one of the most relevant things. The second thing is to find a mentor. So, I mean, if I could throw out two things,
You're
the master
allowed.
schedule I
Don't
think is a
worry.
given. The master schedule is given. So let's put that out of the way. I would say that's an easy task to do. Sit down and make an amazing schedule for yourself. But the other thing that I would say, if I could put a priority on it, probably the better, higher priority is to find a mentor, find someone, and I don't mean mentor as in like your neighbor who had a business. I mean somebody who is doing what you want to do. Somebody who is already as a business owner in the business or in the industry you want. Reach out to them, connect with them. The internet is an amazing tool. Start sitting down one night for 3 hours every night and literally pull up as many emails as you can and find as many contacts, go onto websites and just contact. And you might get one response out of 100 people, but eventually something's going to happen. I would tell you to find a mentor and find somebody that you can just ask a few questions to talk to and just sit down and have a plan of action and create a plan of action for yourself. And so to wrap it all back up into it, it goes partly into that master schedule again. If you can talk to somebody that gives you some feedback and say, okay, where you're at is to do this, this, and this, step one, step two, step three. I think that's probably the going to be the biggest thing for you. You have to you'd have to find a direction when you're lost. And if you're feeling like you don't know where you're going, you're like, right now, what do I do? I'm throwing my hands up in the air and I just don't understand. Ask someone. Just ask anyone, ask you. I mean, you're a great person to ask because you talk to so many people. And I think that there's a lot of people, entrepreneurs are very gracious people. They want to solve the world's problems. They want to fix the world and they want to create solutions for the world. They're going to talk to you. Every entrepreneur would be happy to talk to you. Um, and I personally, if you want to contact me, you can email me. I'm completely open to talking with any business owner, especially if you're a salon. Obviously, I know that business more than anything, but I have a lot of affiliates that are in other businesses that I can connect you with as well. So if you want to contact me, I'm going to give you my email. I know you were saying
I
that
was like, be
might not
prepared
be
if you give him an
I know,
email.
be prepared. I'm prepared. So if you want to do it, send me emails. I like to stay up until 2 in the morning emailing people. So it's Nik, N-I-K, at thestatementsproject.com. So just email me and I'd be happy to talk to you and just give you just one call to action that's maybe a bit customized to you. I think that you need a plan of action. Find somebody that you can rely on that gives you some energy to know the direction that you're in. The first thing to do when you're lost is to find the direction, and sometimes you just need a little help. So
Yeah, that custom. Oh my gosh. The people I interview are just fantastic, aren't they? Oh my. I'm talking to everybody that's listening. The fact that I told you in advance too, like, well, some people give their email, but I'm warning you just in case. I mean, you guys are amazing. Of course, contact her if it's a perfect fit and make sure you explain to her how you can help best and keep the emails short, people, just so we know, so that way she doesn't get too overwhelmed. But I really, really appreciate that. How can they find more about you and what you provide, especially with all the different businesses that you have?
sure. So the fastest way is Instagram. It's always a really
Ooh.
nice way. So my Instagram account is at Nik Trowbridge, Niktrowbridge. So you can just get on Instagram and you can private message me there or whatever. So my Facebook, you can get on my Facebook as well. It's the Statements Project Facebook. Please join and like that. And I'm happy to send you anything. We post anything about classes that we do. I'm also a business consultant. I don't worry about the money. And honestly, in the beginning, what I want to do is I want to create a network and I want to create relationships. And I just want to help people out. So if anyone wants to talk about anything, I was there. I was the young salon owner, lost, didn't know what to do. Sometimes I find myself in those same shoes, but I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people helping me and to achieve a lot of things that I have. And so I'm very, very lucky and I want to give back in that way. I'm also, if you go onto Twitter, it's the Statements Proj, at the Statements Proj, Proj. So you can go on Twitter as well. But Instagram and Facebook are two of the easiest ways to connect with me through social media, and I love it. And then my email is Nik, N-I-K, at the Statements Project. So you can email me there, and I'll be happy to send it back. The website for my online business is thestatementsproject.com. Please go on there if you're looking for courses about business, creating, actually systemizing your business, really is what it is. And anything about financial literacy, I really teach that. That's kind of my specialty. I teach a lot of financial literacy to salon owners that really need to understand how their businesses are running and how to do it better. and get
Oh,
profitable. It's all about profit.
heck yeah. Oh, next time
Profit.
well, I'll have you back on the show. We'll talk only finances next time and how to be more profitable and have people
I,
know
oh my
that
gosh,
stuff too.
it's my thing. I love it.
I
I
feel like
love it.
people avoid that as much as humanly possible, and we need to like shove it down their throats because they'll understand as soon as they start seeing the bottom line go up. They will be like, "Oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing."
Yeah, I'm always about growing, doubling your income. Like I want to teach stylists how to double their income. I'm going to teach salon owners how to get to that $1 million, $2 million, $3 million mark. So
I love this. I'm gonna follow you on Instagram, so I think
thank you.
everybody else should. Yeah, make sure you follow me back so we
Yay!
can actually chat. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really, really appreciate it, Nick.
Jamie, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
All
I
right,
love
have an amazing day. Take care.
you too. Thanks. Bye bye.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you want more like it, go to eventualmillionaire.com. If you click on the millionaire case studies, you will see over 200 millionaire interviews. I don't want you to get overwhelmed, of course, but I do want you to pick the one that might make the biggest difference in your business today. So what's something you're struggling with, and take a look and see if one of those could specifically help you. Don't just take information for information's sake. I want you to be able to take the information, have it applicable to you right now. You use it, you take action, you see results, you come back and go, Jamie, that was amazing. That's what I want. So go check out eventualmillionaire.com and click on the millionaire case studies. Thanks.